next position is going to start on your hands and knees in what we call bear position. So we'll talk about a couple of checkpoints or things you want to look at with bear, and then we'll go through a couple of transitional movements from it. So with the bear position, there's a couple things that are really important. So we start from the hands, and then we kind of talk about the elbow, shoulder, and the trunk. So as I start off with my hands on the ground, and I get my hands kind of right underneath my shoulder, I want to spread my fingers apart, and I want my middle finger pointing straight ahead. So as I spread those fingers apart, I want to have even pressure through my pinky and my thumb, and I want to feel like I'm lightly gripping the floor. So nothing where I'm really overly clenching my hand, but just a little bit of pressure through the pads of my fingers, especially trying to make sure my thumb and my pinky are evenly weight distributed, that I'm not shifting to the outside of my hands or rolling outwards as I'm doing this. So as I start off by that light grip on the floor, the points of my elbows I tuck lightly inward. Nothing where I'm really squeezing the life out of them, but that light tuck inward, if you look at this arm, it kind of lines the crease of my elbow up with my thumb. So I'm looking for that line up so that my elbow is slightly in and not rounding out to the side. So hands gripping the floor, elbows tucked in, and that gives me a little bit of a squeeze into my armpit. Now next thing here is I'm going to lightly push the ground away from me. So in doing that, I feel like that puts tension in some of these scapular stabilizers into my armpit. And I have my chin lightly tucked to elongate my neck or cervical spine. And then I think about my same light tension into my stomach to try and flatten out my lower back. So a lot of little things that we look at making sure we have when we go to do the bear. So as I engage those different positions, I'm going to start to lift my knees up until we call this a little bit of a higher bear. I can start off by just holding this for 3 to 5 seconds and coming back down. Gripping the floor, elbows in, pushing the ground away, tucking my chin, tension in my stomach, maintaining that as I lift up into bear. Okay, so that would be the first option. Now from there, I would do all those same starting movements, and then as I raise up here, I would try and maintain that stomach tension as I go through some movements of my legs. So as I start to lift this leg, I want to make sure that my back does not lose that tension and dip. So I always tell people from the waistline up, you should really be able to tell that you're doing anything. I'm going to keep my back nice and stable as I slowly straighten my leg back, and as I slowly bring my knee up towards my arm. And then I'll take that leg down, same thing on the other side. Knee comes up towards my arm, and slowly taking the leg back. Making sure, especially as I kick the leg back, that's where I'll have a tendency to lose that tension and dip. So really focusing on not going so far back, even if it's just a little, but short of my back losing that tension. And then coming back down. So those are our first two options. Now next we're going to start to transition from here into a squat. So same checkpoints, fingers spread apart, gripping the floor, elbows in, ground pushed away, chin tucked, and I raise up into that bear. Now from here, I'm going to start to, with my feet spread apart in a comfortable enough position so that I can start to bring my knees a little bit out to the side, I'm going to walk back. I'm going to sit back onto my heels if I can towards this squat. And then maybe from there I'll walk right back out, coming back to my bear. And nice and slow coming back. This would be another 5 to 10 times. And then from here I can even work on my squat. Starting to put my heels on the ground, press through my heels as I stand. Same thing as I squat, making sure I don't start to lose that back and let this arch. A little bit of pressure in my abdomen as I drop down towards my heels. If I get to the point where my hips are too tight to continue, at that point I can just come down forward and even start from here. My hips don't allow me to drop all the way into this deeper squat. And then walk back out. And walk back. If my hips are tight, maybe this is all the further I get, and then I start to transition upwards. This will be a little bit of a shallower squat position. But if I'm able to, I would come all the way down. So real quick, your options are starting off just supporting in your bear. Another option is going to be the up with the leg movements. The third is going to be up into the bear, back into the deep squat, and walking back. And then your fourth would maybe be to work through the squat position. So to come up and to drop down. That gives you 4 movements to transition from that bear, progressing trunk stability from that hands and knees to standing.